This ZeroNow program is brought to you with the support of our founding partners.
I'm just one person.
Determined
to bring us back to zero.
I'm just one person.
Determined
to bring us back to zero.
I am just one person.
Determined to bring us back to zero.
Hi, I'm Hannah Brody, and I'm a student correspondent for ZeroNow, and today I'm talking with Kim Marsh. Hi, Kim. Thanks for being here.
Hi, Hannah. Thank you for the invite.
I was just wondering if you would like to describe your story and your career path towards your role in campus safety.
Wow, that's a good question. I started with the alarm industry in 1978, working for a very small alarm company here in Las Vegas. I was a central station operator. Left that company after 11 months and went to another even smaller company as a central station operator. Stayed with that company as it was bought and sold through several different iterations. Eventually became ADT. At that time I had done sales and service and central station manager. I was doing accounts payable and receivables. ADT and Tyco did their split. I was off on the Tyco side. At the time I was doing commercial and federal sales for ADT. Went into the federal division there, and Tyco, as you know, was bought by Johnson Controls, and left Johnson Controls in June of 2020 due to staff reductions because of COVID. Took a nice year off and found an opportunity at ISC West in 2021. Said real nice things about this company, and they really liked me. I'm one of the lucky ones, to be honest with you, to have this job. I really feel blessed. They invited me to GSX in Orlando in last year and interviewed me in the hotel room, and I worked the booth the next day.
That's amazing.
Really,
I will say part of it is, like, I've done like a plethora of these interviews, and I have never had opportunity to speak to like a woman in the field yet, and like that is just amazing to me because obviously as a female interviewer, like I like getting all the perspectives, but getting one from a woman is definitely special for me. So like with the work you have done, like what inspired you to start working with campus safety?
You know, I had kids through the Clark County School District. Their kids are now in the Clark County School District, and things are changing a lot from when I went to school. Things are really different. Teachers have so much more to worry about. The whole social media aspect and everything else, where people feel empowered to be able to say exactly what they feel on their mind without a filter. It's really changed the way I see my kids and grandkids having to deal with school. There's a lot of bullying. It's crazy. I know we had some of that when I was in school. That was a really long time ago, and I didn't have to deal with social media.
Yeah, I will say, as like I was in a public school that was like 4,000 kids, and so there was definitely a lot of concern regarding safety. And like my school tried to handle it as best they could, but it's a public school, so you can't really filter the amount of kids going in and out and what those kids were going to do and whatnot. But obviously, campus safety and technology overall comes with obstacles. So, like, what obstacles have you encountered in being in this field?
Do you know what's most frustrating for me is the fact that I hear people constantly saying it's never going to happen here. We don't have to worry about that. We have nothing going on that would ever be a cause. And be quite frankly, those answers are coming from the men, right? I am trying to find information from the teachers, from the people that are not in management, the people that are actually working in these sites. I'll use the word facilities because there are campuses and there are other corporate facilities that are bigger and can have 3,000 people in them at one time. But those aren't the people that are talking. And a lot of them are women that, they'll go to work, but they're still concerned about their safety. And, the men that I've talked to that are going, oh, yeah, we got it all under control, they're not letting the women talk. And it's frustrating for me.
I will say I totally get that because again I go to Ohio State, so a huge school.
Yeah,
And like there, it's in the middle of a city, so like even though it is, I think it's very safe. But I also have really good guy friends that will walk me places, and I
yeah,
have a personal alarm, and I have pepper spray, and I think to your point, the frustrating part is like none of them carry that. None of them have to worry about the. I mean, if they're smart, they carry it either way. But it was
right.
created for women, and thankfully everyone carries it if they're smart. But at the same time, you have to think like who is proportionally the most likely to get injured or be the victim of something, and it is going to be the females who are also being the ones limited in terms of how much they're allowed to talk about the situation because we're not seen as competent and not seen as like we seem we're too emotionally like invested in the issue to be able to make rational decisions about it, which is obviously really frustrating.
It is frustrating, and I talk to my kids about it. I talk to my kids about, okay, so when my kids were little, the first things that I warned them about was look both ways before you cross the street, right? Don't talk to strangers and all of that. Well, right now I'm being told that it's too scary to talk to kids about what's going on in schools. There's definitely a way to do it. If they're able to play Call of Duty and things like that as a video game, why can't we have this discussion with them? I'd rather empower somebody and give them the ability to protect themselves, like the pepper spray or whatever, but empower them to take care of themselves instead of being that person that's cringing in the corner.
Yeah, and I think also part of it is, um, I don't think there's a single situation in life where I would tell someone not to be proactive. And I think people like you'll regret it more. Like, so if your child is like a little scared, like we're eventually they're gonna be scared of something, and
Right.
you'd rather them be scared of something that's rationally okay. Like, I'd rather my kid be scared like of talking to a stranger than be scared of like, oh, but like what if they don't like me because I'm not talking to them? And
Right.
so I think
Or fear
it
isn't right.
there's too much pressure on being likable than it is to be
Hmm.
like safe. And I think that's something that like as a society we need to overcome more and like needs to be talked about because you can still be likable but also be like take care of yourself at the same time.
And it's empowering. As a woman, you need to be able to say no, and you need to be able to say yes, and you need to be able to defend yourself,
Yeah.
just
So
mentally and physically.
yeah. So I would say like another question I have is like moving forward, like obviously the role of woman in everything has changed and for the most part progressed over like the years. So how do you like hope to see women and just technology and everything evolve and change over the next 4 years, mainly for like my generation that's in college right now?
Wow. Um, in general, I would like to see women being respected, receiving the same pay, receiving the same considerations as men do. Number one, we're smart, and maybe we do things a little differently, right? We might not go in with our fists first,
Yeah.
but there's that mind that goes in, and plant the seeds and work the farm, right? And we make the changes that way. And I think that's smarter. I think that's it's not that in your face kind of change. I think that women are going to be able to make it kinder and gentler, but I think that that's where that's going to go. Technology, I don't know. Women are getting into the technology field now. We're courting women in our school systems with STEM. There's I don't have anyone in college right now, so I can't answer that part. But I'm hoping that, the colleges are seeing that women are just so doggone smart. We've just had to keep it, quiet for a while.
And I think to your point, like the kinder and gentler part is like women we tend to problem solve in the long run. We tend to start at the foundation and kind of like work our way into people and solve the problem. Whereas like men typically are like, how can we solve this problem quickly? And I think that's the problem with women is we tend to make solutions that aren't seen, the results aren't seen as quickly, and so it's not really credited to us. It's like, oh, that's just a happy coincidence that suddenly got resolved, even though like we've been working at it for so long.
Right.
So I think that is part of it is like women need to seek more credit for when they deserve the credit.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely.
So
I
as I
definitely.
know we talked about challenges as like as like a woman, but also like what are challenges like you've received as like just like working in this field like of because obviously campus safety can be it's obviously exists, but people have different views on how to handle it, which can obviously create problems for a company that's sole purpose is to handle it. So like what are problems you come into contact with the sole purpose of the company?
You know, our product is very unique. We have the hardened vault system that tactical response groups can respond to an active threat event. You know, that restore weapons, self-defense tools. It can be a lethal device or a non-lethal device, and we want to stress that. But the problem is getting people to understand that, yes, you can do this. You need to train, you need to practice, you need to have a security mindset, as Michael Julian likes to say. That's all very true, and my problem is, oh, it's too much time, or teachers aren't made to do that. And, I've talked to some really wonderful people that are teachers, and yes, they're frustrated. They want to protect themselves. And you know what? If they're not going to use a lethal weapon, or if they're not going to use a non-lethal weapon, these teachers need to understand what the tactical response is to an event so that they can do a strategic side of it, shepherd the children or the people that they're responsible for to a safe location, start triage, and work that way. They're all a part of the solution, and they get it. And the men and women that I've spoken to are all very much on board with that. They just want to be trained. They're not stupid. I guess that's the whole thing. And when I see first responders, law enforcement, and SROs, I love them. I support them 100%. It's a very tough job, but they forget that they need to include the people that they're protecting and what they're training about. And I truly believe that it's a team effort, a village, to be able to protect lives.
Do you think? Can you just like give me an example of like what a non-lethal weapon would look like?
Tasers. Byrna has a wonderful device. It's a chemical propellant, and similar to a handgun, but those are options. The Byrna, as far as I know, is legal in the States. I know Hawaii, which has very restrictive gun laws, is now using them, or people are carrying them there. They were just allowed to use tasers, and you have to go through training in order to be able to carry a taser.
So, obviously, I'm always a proponent of like make sure the teachers are trained to, because I mean like they signed up to teach kids, but at the same time, every job comes with an underlying disclaimer of that's not always going to be the case. So, I think part of my question is, what would be done to ensure that like their weapon that they carry with them doesn't fall into the wrong hands?
Well, that's that's my point also, actually. It's great that you go through the concealed carry class, but there's still that responsibility. Teachers are going to get hugged. Teachers are going to, they're interacting with students. Beyond a hug, there might be a tackled. I don't like the idea of putting a weapon inside the little money safes, the little money boxes, with a little key on it, a little flimsy tin thing. I don't like that idea, I highly recommend the vaults that we have. It's a dual authenticated vault. Put your Prox card up, you use your biometric. It's going to take a picture of the person who's accessing that vault. At the same time, it's sending out an alert notification to everyone that's enrolled into the system to let them know that there's an event going on. We have a larger vault system that a school resource officer could store their long gun in, and they would be able to access that as needed. But in case of an event, there's a duress button inside of it. They can activate that duress button and send out the notification to the call tree. So, no, I don't think they should just be carrying a weapon on them as a teacher. I think that device needs to to be protected. It needs to be restricted. It shouldn't be the first line that you're going to go for.
Yeah.
Right?
I really agree with that. Actually, my last question is, what advice do you have for people who like maybe don't have any sort of training, don't have any sort of like desire to shoot a gun or anything, but like want to get involved in campus safety?
You know, talk to people. Start talking about security education. And when I talk about security education, it's like, well, why does that door have to be closed? You know, become a security sentinel and understand the reasons why things need to be done a certain way. Your security procedures are sent down to you from the top, from your security team, or, you know, whoever's your management people. So understand that those rules that they're putting into place for you, they're for your own safety. There's a logic. You may not know what it is, but if you have a question, ask that question so that you do understand it, and then start watching out for others to help educate them. You can always go online on our website. We have an affiliation with Alive. He does a wonderful 1-hour training session on there. If you want to go into a deeper, you know, so much better than 6 minutes and 20 seconds of run, hide, fight. It explains what's going on. They have the 3-hour program that you can watch. I've taken both of them, and it makes sense. It makes you understand, and it gives you an idea of what you can do in case of a situation, but it also lets you understand why these things are necessary. And now, more than ever, weird things are happening, and it might happen to you. I pray that they don't, you know, but I want to be prepared.
Yeah. Okay, I really appreciate your time today, Kim. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Hannah. It was great talking to you.
Great talking to you too. Have a good one.